I'm Jamie from Stillmeyer Games, as you can tell from my shirt here, and I am here today, as usual, on Wednesday to share some Stillmeyer Games news, to discuss random topics, and to answer any non-spoiler questions you have about what we're doing here at Stillmeyer Games, or about anything you want. Ask me anything. Um, today I'll discuss a few different topics. I think in general, I'll talk about Geekway to the West, which I attended last weekend and last Thursday, Friday. Talk about Red Rising's anniversary coming up soon, and the sheer number of videos I recorded yesterday, along with Rolling Realms Game 50, which starts today in the Rolling Realms Facebook group. I'm going to minimize my screen over here so I don't get distracted by it. Yeah, I'm excited to be here with you today. Sorry, I'm running a few minutes late. Today, I'm also, after this, I'm headed to have lunch with my team, with Alex, Susanna, and Dave, who are here in St. Louis. Joe is in Reno. And we are going to play test a pre-production copy of a product that I received just the other day. Usually we've been trying to do this where we review. We have many stages of oversight for our games. Like we proofread our games, for example, near the later stage of the projects. We proofread it, and then we proofread it again and proofread it again over and over again, and then we send the digital files to the printer for any given product. The printer reviews those files to make sure that they can be printed and assembled in a way that works for them and for customers. And then sometimes we make a few revisions there. And then about a month passes and the printer creates a pre-production copy, which is a copy that roughly looks like the final version of the product, but it isn't really. It's laser cut instead of die cut. There are minor differences. But it's a good way for us to actually get that product to the table in its final finished form with the real components to see if it works as we thought it would work and as it worked in the prototypes and as we thought it would work from the digital files. So we're going to do that today. I'm excited to do that today. It is a good time. Like obviously, ideally we would have made any revisions in the digital stage, but it is still a fine time to make revisions to the files. And unlike later stages of the project, it doesn't really impact the schedule all that much. So anyway, that's what I'm doing today after I'm done with this live cast. We're going to go as a team, play test the pre-production copy of a new product. I see a bunch of different people joining us today. I want to highlight Molly because I finally got to meet Molly and Carol, the two people that work on The Mill with Dusty. I almost pointed out my shirt because I was wearing the Mill t-shirt they gave me yesterday. But at Geekway to the West, Molly and Carol came. Molly came from Canada. Carol came from, I think, Ohio, maybe Indiana, over to Geekway to the West in St. Louis. And we got to play Horrified together. I also got to play Challengers with Carol and her husband, Ben. And I had a blast with them. It was wonderful to meet you, Molly, and wonderful to meet your partner, Jamie, and Carol and Ben. Yeah, all around, I had a wonderful time at Geekway to the West, meeting wonderful people like Molly and Carol, and a number of other people as well. In a second, to start out with, before I jump over to some comments, let me flash the games that I played at Geekway up on the screen in case you want to talk about any of them in particular. I do have a video coming this weekend about all the games that I played at Geekway, but these are the new to me games that I played. I just mentioned that I played Horrified with Molly and Carol. There's Horrified. I played the Bug Council of Backyardia. I played the one prototype I played was a game called Kraken Skulls, which is nearly complete. It'll be on Kickstarter soon. Had a lot of fun with Kraken Skulls. Really, I enjoyed all of these games. I had no misses at Geekway. This is Broken and Beautiful. I played Honga. Here's Honga, named after the cat Honga here. I played Nemolia. Here's Nemolia. I played My City Roll and Build. Here's My City Roll and Build. I played Challengers, played an 8-person game of Challengers. We played Her Story, and I had the great pleasure of being taught Her Story by the designer, Danielle. She was there to teach all 5 of us how to play Her Story. I played Trekking Through History, a light time travel game, and then 2 heavy games here. I played Mosaic, and I played Revive. Here is Revive. And last, I played Spots, a game that I actually brought to the convention, one that I bought before the convention and wanted to play. So those are all the new to me games I played at Geekway. I taught and played Libertalia. I taught and played Red Rising. I played a round of disc golf with various Geekway attendees. And I feel like there were a few other games that I had played before. I played Race for the Galaxy, which I played a long time ago but hadn't played in a while. A lot of games played at Geekway to the West. If you were there, let me know what you played, or let me know what you played this past weekend while we were at Geekway to the West. Ray said he was visiting St. Louis this past weekend, visiting some family here. Got some barbecue, some Ted Roos, and playing some great games. I hope you had a good time here, Ray. That's great to hear. Mark is here this morning. Mark, I'll talk about Rolling Realms in a second, but Mark has a realm that I'll be playing today in Rolling Realms. Um, Justin says, I know you work only in positivity, or I try to at least, but is there a positive way you can address the content creation controversy happening right now with your thoughts and reactions? Is this kind of communication from creators common among publishers? So Justin is referring to um, a situation between the publisher of Aeons and Odyssey and a content creator called Quackalope. Um, and there you can look it up if you want. There's a long email chain. You can judge as you wish based on what happened in that email chain between the publisher and the Quackalope, Jesse. Justin, what is a positive way I can talk about this? Or at least, I can answer your question. I don't know if there's a positive spin on it, but you said, is this type of communication from creators common among publishers? So I think two of the things that were that happened during the communication that particularly stood out was, and from both sides. One was from the publisher saying that they were open to sponsored content about their game as long as it was clearly marked as sponsored, and they had a bunch of questions to make sure that they were within kind of legal bounds for sponsored content. But they also said something that I don't think is very common, which they said, obviously, you will only say positive things about the game. I'm paraphrasing there. That I do not think is common at all. That was very unusual to read. Yeah, I think the point of, or not the point, but I think what most publishers pursue is unbiased content. And publishers might highlight, if a reviewer like loves their game, they might highlight that a little bit more than a reviewer who doesn't love their game. That's up to them if they want to do that. But asking specifically for positive content, I thought was not common. I do not think that is common. I think that's very rare that happens. I will also say for Stonemaier Games, our method is that if I send out a review copy to you, if you request a review copy and you actually review it, I'm going to share that content. And I will also not read or listen to or watch it. I will not know what you say because I want to stay unbiased, just as I hope you want to stay as unbiased as possible as a content creator. And so I will share it no matter what. If you send me a link for a video that you create about one of our games, I'm going to post it on our website, not even knowing if it's a very positive or very positive negative review. The other side of this that was a little odd is that Quackalope, Jesse, and you can see this in the correspondence, it's a long correspondence. You have to read the whole thing, but there's an odd part of it where he says, I've already filmed 50 hours of content, or I've spent 50 hours on this game. I don't know if it was 50 hours of content, but I've spent 50 hours on this game already. I already have a bunch of videos filmed. Most of them are not positive. And if you don't pay for me to make other videos, I'm going to post this negative content, among maybe some positive stuff, but I'm going to post this negative content. And that was very odd to read. It felt a little bit like ransom. I don't think that was his intention, and there is a bunch of context there. I would read the whole conversation if you get the chance. But again, you asked here, Justin, if that is common, and no, I don't think that's common at all. In fact, I don't think it's common at all for a content creator to spend a bunch of time, especially if someone's doing like a paid preview. They're typically not going to spend a bunch of time or any time on a game unless they've already been paid for that preview. Preview meaning they're showing what the game is, not sharing their opinion. So I thought that was very odd that he spent so much time on it without securing the sponsorship deal that he was looking to get. Anyway, I would recommend that people do some research on it because it is an odd situation. I would not say it is common though from either side, from the content creator side or the publisher side. I thought there were some things in there that were very rare that do not happen all that often. Jerry has some sad news. Yeah, so last week while I was at Geekway, we got the news that the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser experience that I loved so much about a month ago is closing. As of, in fact, 2 days, on May 26th, they are going to reopen opportunities for people to sign up to go over the next few months. And then in September, it will close. So if you liked my video about that, if you liked the way I described that experience, this is your time to go. And I would highly recommend that you go. Jerry says, when you were there, did you get a sense that this venture, however awesome, would last? Anything that you that you think could have been done better, done differently to save it? That's a good question. So we were there. I think the Star Cruiser can hold between 400 and 500 people, which I think would be too crowded. I think that's too many people. Um, but when we were there, we had around 150 people there. And while it felt full, it felt like a good number of people, really. There were times, like when I looked around the dining room, and it did feel a little empty. And so I would almost recommend that they remove some of the tables. They had this big outer rim of tables. I would recommend that they just remove those tables, put something else in there, something thematic, or just remove the tables, because that in itself will make the room feel more crowded. If they have what I think would be a good target of maybe 200, 250 people. So I think that's one thing. So that was one thing. The only time where I really got a sense that it was holding less than capacity and felt a little bit empty. Um, that was my main indication. As for what they could have done to save it, I think they need. I think they would have needed, and I hope still there's a chance. Maybe there's a chance they'll find a way to revise it. It sounds like they've already made a decision, but um, I think they needed lower pricing and clearer pricing, because I've heard so many people say, I'm not going to pay $5,000 to go on the Galactic Star Cruiser, but that is not the cost to go on the Galactic Star Cruiser. That is the cost for, actually, that really isn't an inherent cost for anything. It's around $6,000 for 4 people to go on the Star Cruiser. $1,500 per person is still a lot of money, but if you go to group of four, $1,500 is very different than paying $5,000 per person. And I think part of that confusion is on people, but part of that confusion is on the way that Disney advertised this experience. I think they should have just said, this is a flat rate. It's, in fact, I think they should lower it to $1,000. Flat rate, $9.99 per person. That is the rate per person to go on this experience. I think that would have helped a lot. I think that was a big part of it, and to also better communicate what the experience is. Like, I think I heard a lot of people say that they didn't even know there was a game involved. And I go into my video, there's like 5 different layers to this amazing mega game experience that is the Star Cruiser. I think all too much it was advertised kind of as just a hotel, like a fancy hotel that looks like a Star Wars ship in space, which is part of it. That is part of the experience, but it was a lot more than that. So I think Disney's communication could have been a lot better about it. Unfortunately, so it is closing. I think they made the final decision. I hope people get the chance to go in the next few months while it does remain open. Right now, you can't schedule anything. You have to wait till the 26th or the 27th of May to start to schedule, because they're trying to book people who booked after September. But my hope is, even if they close the game part of it, which is amazing, I hope they don't. But even if they close part of it, I hope they leave the hotel open for Galaxy's Edge guests, because it's an incredible hotel that they built. I don't want them to just scrap it. Maybe they could build it into Galaxy's Edge somehow, like you take a voyage away from Galaxy's Edge temporarily to go visit it. But ideally, it would be that you can stay in the hotel and then visit Galaxy's Edge as you wish. I hope they at least do that. Obviously, I have a lot of passion and thoughts about that topic. I'm happy to talk more about Geekway too. I know I just flashed the games that I played at Geekway. That was a big part. Oh, we have Walter back here. Hey, Walter. You want to say hi? No, just wants to stare creepily up at us. But I had a wonderful time at Geekway. I played around, I think it was around 18 total games, 13 new to me, 5 that I already played, with around 50 different people. I kind of just wandered around looking for games to play and people who wanted to play games with me. And it was just a wonderful 4 days way to spend 4 days last week. Steve also had a comment about the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Nazi says, I wanted to ask if you have ever played a roll and write game with a worker placement mechanism. If not, you should check out Chiefdom on Kickstarter. Have I played? Well, I appreciate the recommendation, for one. Thank you for that. Have I played a roll and write game with a worker placement mechanism? I mean, probably. I've played a lot of roll and write games, but I can't think of one offhand. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. Blake says, sounds like a busy week for you. Then again, when are you not busy? That's true. I do try to stay busy, hopefully productive busy. That's not always the case. But yeah, it was a busy week last week with Geekway. I kind of would wake up, work for a few hours, go to Geekway for around 7 to 8 hours, then come home, work for a little bit, then pass out, and then do it all over again the next day. Nathan is here. Nathan was very kind to teach me Revive. Let's see if I have that photo of Revive. One of the heaviest games, perhaps the heaviest game that I played at Geekway, and Nathan did a fantastic job of teaching this game. This is your player mat. Look how complicated your player mat is, and this is the whole board near the end of the game. Nathan was right here, David was right here, and Andrea was right here. I had a wonderful time playing that game. Thank you, Nathan, for doing that. Yeah, I hope you had a good time the rest of the convention as well. Feel free to mention, yeah, if you were at Geekway, mention your highlights to me. Let me know some of the favorite games you played. Maybe your favorite light game, your favorite heavy game, or favorite unexpected experience that you had there. Many of the games that I played were on my list, but there were a few that were off my radar a little bit. Her Story, I had heard of Her Story. I didn't know much about it, but I really enjoyed the game. It was like a heavier version of Splendor without being too heavy. It still flowed really well, and it was really nice to be taught by the designer of the game. That was a nice bonus. David says, I know this is spoilery, but could you give us the code name of what you are testing today? No, absolutely not. No, I don't talk about code names that way, David. Or if not, from today's process, what is the timeline usually for production and release? That's maybe a little bit more that I could talk about. I mean, you could probably figure this out by looking at the progress chart on our website. You can see kind of the different stages. So the pre-production copy happens during pre-production. There's a pre-production stage of any given project, and that is when I look at the pre-production copy for a game. It's before we go to print. It's kind of part of the digital file review process of a game. Molly says that they spent a lot of time with Susanna at Geekway. Yes, Susanna was a wonderful host. In fact, all of my team members, Alex, Dave, and Susanna, were wonderful hosts for people coming to Geekway in different ways. Susanna spent all the time with Molly and Carol. Alex spent all the time with a designer, Amon, and talking to distributors and different retailers. And Dave spent so much time at the booth. We had a booth at Geekway, welcoming people, trying to show people how to play our games, sharing things like promos and Disc Golf Disc. Disc Golf Disc apparently went very well at Geekway. And I'll show you the promos that we will start selling next week on our web store. We sold them a little bit early at Geekway because why not? People were there, avoid some shipping. But we had the Parks promo realm, we had the Skulk Hollow promo realm, we had the Tricarian promo realm, and the Beyond the Realmiverse 4-game playable solo campaign. Kind of a surprise that we've included here. Those will be on our web store on, did I say May 31st? May 30th, next Wednesday. 31st. Yeah, May 31st. Chad says, is there a non-party game that makes you laugh every or most times you play it? Well, one that's fresh on my mind, Chad, is this game Spots that I played. It's just really adorable and cute, and I've only played it twice, but I laughed both times I played because the art on the dogs is just so adorable. You're putting dice on the dogs to match the spots that they want, and they also have adorable names. There's even a dog that's clearly a cow masquerading as a dog in the game. So that's a recent one that is not a party game, but definitely made me laugh as I was playing it. Is there one that you have in mind? Cameron says, Cameron, the designer of Parks here, or the Parks Realm. Cameron says, Maddox and I just got our early copies of the Parks Rolling Realm. They got early copies because Cameron's the designer and Keymaster gave us their permission and their help to make the Parks Realm. He says, thanks for sending those over. Super excited for everyone to give it a try as soon as it becomes available. I am really excited to share it with people as well, Cameron. Some people already have it from Geekway, but most people will get it in around 2 weeks. We'll start selling them next Wednesday. Mark says, will the recent promo realms be revealed in full soon? Actually, Mark, yeah, they were available at Geekway, or not at Geekway, during the Geekway times. If you go on our website, you can see the full expanded living rulebook, or at least it should be there. If it's not, let me know. But the full living rulebook that includes these new realms should be available in the Dropbox folder that we use for all Rolling Realm stuff. That should be on our website now. Chad says his wife and him played My Little Scythe for the first time the other day. She has always been hesitant about playing heavier games like Scythe, so she was happy to see that My Little Scythe wasn't difficult at all, and she had a lot of fun. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think it's a nice stepping stone up to Scythe, or just a great game on its own. I didn't want to publish it if it was just a stepping stone. I think My Little Scythe stands on its own, and I'm glad your wife had fun with it, and that you did too, Chad. Greg is here. I got to meet Greg at Geekway. Didn't get to play a game with Greg. He had a full game of Space Station Phoenix that I wasn't able to get into. But he says, along with meeting you, a highlight of our experience. Thank you, Greg. He says, we played Boop. I played Boop as well. Splendor Duel. Oh, I wanted to try Splendor Duel. I didn't realize they had that. Red Rising, which you signed for me. I did. Flamecraft, twice. Acropolis. Milfiore. I heard great things about Milfiore. Honeybuzz. Honeybuzz is a great game. Beer and Bread, among some others. I do need to try Beer and Bread, too. I've heard great things about that. Oh, Ray said he will be in St. Louis this coming weekend. Sorry, Ray, I misinterpreted that. You'll be here soon. I hope we have good weather for you this weekend when you're in town, Ray. Dan he says he's checking in. I'm currently in technical rehearsals for a play I'm directing. That's great. And was thinking about how great a theme for a Euro style game this would be. The puzzle of putting together a show is brilliantly crunchy. If anyone has any ideas, drop me a message. Wink, wink. Dan, I'm curious if you played the game Shakespeare. I think that was the name. Yeah, Shakespeare. Because I thought that was a pretty good uh, distillation of putting on a theater performance or arranging for a theater performance. But you know much better than I do, and I think you're from the UK, so you probably know that this game and Shakespeare much better than I do. So yeah, let me know if you played that game, if that is what you're looking for in a theater game, or if you're looking for something else. Justin says, when you retire and are no longer a publisher, I don't know if I'll ever actually retire. I really, really love to work. I love to create. I love to, yeah. Will you go back and watch a bunch of reviews now that bias won't matter? Okay, so I was talking about how I don't watch or consume reviews for our games with very specific exceptions. If there is a review that like in fact one of the last reviews that I watched was a video from Quackalope himself, Jesse, that had some odd things to say about Viticulture World. I kept hearing people talk about these odd things. I was like, I need to know what's going on here with what's being said. That was, I think, the last time that we sent a review copy to Jesse. But so very rare exceptions that I do watch those videos. But do I want to go back and watch them? I don't know. I don't know if I'm compelled to. I watch a lot of reviews, just not for Stonemaier games, and I do still hear a lot of what people are saying about our games. Obviously, I want to get that input during the playtest process and from non-reviewers, but I do also appreciate the analytical approach that reviewers take. And there are people who know that I don't read and watch reviews, and if they and there's people, including you, if you ever watch or read or listen to a review about one of our games and you're like, Jamie should really hear this, like this would make Jamie a better designer, a better publisher, let me know. Let me know the thing that they said. You don't have to even name the reviewer. In fact, that would be the most helpful. Say that let me know what the insight that they provided. I don't want to put work on you, but it is helpful for me to do that. And if you want me to learn something from those experiences. But Justin, I don't know. I'm not compelled to go back and watch them. Maybe someday I will be, but at this time I'm not. Guillaume says that his game Ruse funded in just 2 hours. I think this is Guillaume's game. Congratulations, Guillaume, on the successful launch. 2 hour funding is incredible for a first time creator. I'm really, really glad to hear that. Chad says that Board Game Co. was losing a bunch of subscribers because he was associated with Quackalope in the past. He says, I felt bad for the guy. He had to make a video outlining his approach. I thought it was actually a really well done video, Chad. A video worth watching because he doesn't, even though it's kind of clear that he has different values and principles than Quackalope, he didn't speak poorly of him. It was an opportunity that he could have spoken poorly about someone else, and he didn't. He said, hey, I don't want to focus on this thing. I want to focus on who I am and what I'm doing. I thought that was I had a lot of respect for the way that Board Game Co. did that. Chad says, I feel that this whole situation will help the transparency for each content creator. They should now feel the need to make it very clear if there has been money exchanged for any content. I hope so. Yeah, I think hopefully that was clear before too, that if you have sponsored content, that you talk about it. I did a blog post about it maybe a year or so ago, about the topic of bias in games. I think it's literally impossible for a content creator to be truly unbiased. Money aside, because we're human beings. We have biases all the time that we can't really get around. I think bias is normal and okay. I think the key is if you're aware of your bias, well, I think that's part of the key. Be aware of your bias. And two, if you're creating content that could effectively sell something to people, share that bias with them. Let them know. Like I meant, like I'm not a reviewer, but I mentioned that I learned her story. I learned her story from the designer. So the way that I talk about the game might be a little more positive than normal, maybe because I learned it from the best possible conditions. The designer was there to teach it and answer questions. I think that sort of transparency at a much higher level, if you are doing a review opposed to just talking about a favorite mechanism, is really important. Mark says he's currently playing. Actually, while I'm talking, sorry, Mark. Walter has now gotten closer to me. You can't see him here, but Walter is right down here. Hi. Here's Walter. Yeah, you don't want to be up here. So Walter says he's currently playing Viticulture on BGA while watching this live stream. We plan to play Tapestry next. Looks like it is a Stonemaier night tonight. And Mark, I hope you are able to stay up for the live play. Although I don't know if you're in the first round. I'll go through the rounds here. Bye, Walter. You say goodbye? Oh, Walter. So here's round one that we're going to play today. So round one, these are all fan designed. So game 50 of Rolling Realms are all fan design realms. These are not realms that we're publishing. These are realms that were designed by fans that I thought were interesting. I picked one from 9 different people. So round one, we have Belfort, Great Western Trail, and Pandemic. These were designed by Ben Baker, Matt Scora, and Karel Tateka. Karel is also the main designer and developer for the Rolling Realms promos. So Mark is in on round one. Round two, tomorrow, Merchants of the Dark Road, Speckled Eggs. I think it's so creative. This is Mark's realm here. He designed a realm based on the speckled eggs that we make for Wingspan. And John Company from George. George, I was worried about the text, and the text is really small on here. You packed a lot of text into your card, so I might need to find another way to read that text. Yeah, that's very tiny. I'll make it work. But yeah, thank you for those fan designers. And finally, round 3 on Friday. All these are going to be at 3 o'clock Central Time, St. Louis time. We have Draftosaurus, Grand Austria Hotel, and Number 9 from Nathan Smith, Joris LaBrune, and Ryan Davis. And I didn't name the first designer, Jeff Putnam, designed Merchants of the Dark Road. So I'm looking forward to playing through them today, tomorrow, and Friday this week. Steve says, I got Revive a few weeks ago. Love that game. What did you think of it? A lot of interesting mechanisms, a lot of inspiring mechanisms in the game. It actually uses a hand management system similar to Expeditions, my new game. I really like the bonus action system in it. You use these little lightning bolt tokens to take bonus actions. And I mentioned this specifically, I'll talk about it in my video a little bit more, but I think bonus actions in games don't always work for me because I kind of forget they're there. They're off to the side on a little list. But here, they're built into your core interface, and you've unlocked them. And so you're very, very aware of the bonus actions that you've unlocked. Sometimes you've even selected them and added them to your board, which I think is really clever. The way the tracks work, the way that you can upgrade the card slots, there's a lot of cool stuff happening in Revive. If you like heavier games, I think Revive is going to be a winner for you. I'm glad to hear you like it, Steve. Nathan says that he's excited about Rolling Realms Live Play 50. He does have, Nathan, are you in round 1? Yeah, I think you're in round 2. He says, my parents are in town, so we'll get to play in person rather than our usual FaceTime play. That's awesome that you get to play a realm that you designed together, hopefully live with me, or in the future. It'll be on YouTube in the future. This will be in the Rolling Realms Facebook group. So Molly says some of their favorite games from Geeky Wit of the West were Guild of Merchant Explorers, Obsession at Fancy Gaming. Obsession is a perfect fancy gaming game, and an amazing 5-player Tapestry the final day before our drive home. Yeah, it was wonderful to see Tapestry on the table with all of you. Thank you so much for playing Tapestry there. Yeah, that was really special to see. And I'm glad you like Guild of Merchant Explorers too. That was one of my favorite games from last year and one of my recent purchases from AAG. Nathan says, I saw that Stella from Meeple University posted a video on what is in the Expeditions box. Yes, it wasn't a full unboxing. I think she had already unboxed it, but she does show what's in the box. And Nathan says, I can't wait until I get my hands on it. That link is on the media and reviews page of our website for Expeditions. You can also see it. Go to YouTube, go to Meeple University, and you can see that what's in the box video for Expeditions for an advanced review copy. So basically, we have now sent all advanced review copies to reviewers. They are allowed, because I've been, you know what's in Expeditions if you've wanted to know. It's on our website. They're currently allowed to just show objective stuff about the game. They can show anything they want about the game. And then starting in the week of June 12th, that's when reviewers can share opinions about the game. The reason I separate the two, some might call it an embargo. I prefer not to use that term. I think it has negative connotations, even though that's essentially what it is. But the reason we do that is that I don't want any reviewer to feel rushed to play the game and offer their opinion like the same day. I want to give them time to, they have other games to play too, but also time to play it multiple times if they want to digest their opinions, to process them before they feel compelled to rush to be the first reviewer to put out a review. So that's why we put in a buffer there of saying, hey, take your time with this. There's no rush. Take your time. June 12th or anytime after that, you can post your opinionated content about the game. Tim, I got to play a game with Tim and his lovely wife, Amber, who helped, who really taught most of the game of Mosaic Amber was over here, Tim was over here, and Scott, our lawyer, actually was over here. So it was a great group of people to play games with. Spent around, what, 2.5 hours, Tim? Maybe 3 hours? The game flew by. The turns in Mosaic, which is a fairly heavy civilization game, but the turns are short and simple. The game really flows really, really well. I had a blast playing it with Tim. And Tim, yeah, thank you so much for bringing that and setting it up and being patient as I tried to finish Revive without also rushing Revive. Nancy Jane says that Mill Fury is great, lots of mini games. I really like when games have lots of little mini games in them. I played 3 games in Geekway that had mini games in it. Honga, Spots, and Kraken Skulls all had mini games happening in them that were really satisfying to play around with. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. So the thing I want to mention about videos is, so I played all these games at Geekway. They're all fresh on my mind. And so while they were fresh on my mind, yesterday I filmed 13 videos, my favorite mechanism videos about these games. I also filmed a video about Geekway in general, where I talk a little bit about each game and my experience at Geekway. And I filmed a video because I forgot in that video to share the favorite games and experiences from my coworkers, because I asked them what their favorites were. Immediately after that. So I filmed 15 videos yesterday. It was a lot of time just to spend kind of staring at myself in the camera here. I was exhausted after doing that, but built up essentially a month's worth of content in one day after filming all those videos yesterday. So you'll see a lot of videos in the coming days with me wearing the same shirt because I filmed them all on the same day. So Chad asked, are there any non-party games that always make him laugh? And he says Coup. Playing Coup with his buddies always makes his belly laugh, or always makes him belly laugh. Not sure if that's necessarily a party game or not. It's on the edge. I always thought it was a social deduction game, which it is. I also chuckle every time I play Clank in Space. You know, we laughed a lot playing Clank Legacy. I thought the humor in Clank Legacy was really well done. Carol is here. So Carol, Carol and Molly are heavily involved in the mill, or are very much part of the mill. Carol says, how has your transition back to real life been after the convention? Yeah, it certainly is a little bit of a convention transition to go for that high of being around so many people who are so excited about games to all the other stuff that I have to do every day. But it's been okay. I would say the transition going from the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser back to real life was a lot harder. But yeah, I've caught up on work. I'm now trying to get to the point of catching up where I can work on game design again. I haven't had time to do that over the last few days. How was it for you, Carol? I know you had a long drive after Geekway on Sunday. Are you doing okay after that experience? And hopefully you had a good time there. It was wonderful to meet you and play Challengers and Horrified with you. Oh, Carol says that Ben, her husband, just ordered Challengers for our Memorial Day party this weekend after having so much fun with it last weekend for a large group. Yeah, it does work. It's an amazing game that I think works at 2 players. I haven't played it at 2 players, but it should work at 2 players. As well as up to 8 players. I don't know how it works at odd player counts, but maybe Carol, if you find out, let me know how it works. I'm guessing that a player gets a bye every now and then where you just don't play, because it's all about it's a round to round game where you're playing multiple rounds of a tournament, but every round you're playing a single duel against one other player, and so that's why I think it probably doesn't work exactly as well with odd player counts. They probably found a way to make it work. Kevin says, have you read a novel called Jade City? I love Jade City. I love the Greenbone saga. Yeah, I think I've read everything in that series. I've read the 3 books, and I've read the 2 novellas. These are books by Fonda Lee that I would highly recommend. Really, really epic series that has to do with, it's like a little bit of kung fu mixed with magic, mixed with family intrigue, kind of like Game of Thrones family and political intrigue, added to... what was the last comment? Added to Mafia. Like there's a kind of a Mafia sense to it as well. Kevin says it's a refreshing take on the fantasy genre. Yeah, there's a really cool element of fantasy in it as well. The Jade part of it specifically. Kevin says, what books have you had the time to read lately? The book that I'm reading right now, let's see. I just finished a book recently and I'm reading a book right now. The book that I'm reading right now I know is called The Ferryman. Ferryman? That is by the author of an amazing trilogy of essentially kind of vampire zombie novels called, it looks like I missed a book here. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So I read a book called Mother of Learning, Part 1. I finished that, and then I was really excited about The Ferryman, and I'm reading that now. It's hard for me to even say. I'm about a third of the way through. I'm not even really sure what it's about, It's something happening, I think, in the future. Um, but the author kind of takes this time to unravel what exactly is happening. But the author of the Ferryman is really really good. So it's the author of The Passage. If you read that, has a new book, maybe a new book series called The Ferryman. I'm reading that right now and really enjoying it. Bored at Home is popping in to say hi. Hello. Here's Sam. He says, during the development of Expeditions, was there ever the thought to include card sleeves with the core game? I found through my own playtesting that tucking sleeve cards under each other is much easier when sleeved, and I was wondering what your thoughts are about the subject. So, Sam, we did definitely think about this, especially for Expeditions, which is a game. Well, so two different thoughts here. One is my thinking has always been if we ever released a deck building game, because of the amount of shuffling in it, that we would consider making a version of it that includes sleeves, because you're shuffling a lot. You pretty much need to sleeve the cards in a deck building game. I don't do it in my copy of Clank, but I thought we maybe should do it. But Expeditions didn't end up being a game that involves much shuffling at all. There is tucking though, and you can scratch the cards a little bit as you're tucking. They're a little bit easier to tuck, especially tuck cards under other cards if you sleeve them. So we did even think about it then. However, we're still really trying hard not to add more plastic to the world, and there are already a lot of companies that make sleeves. They're already producing that plastic and producing the sleeves. So we decided not to, even though there is a plastic insert and a plastic tray and plastic mechs and expeditions, we decided not to add even more to it with plastic sleeves. We definitely thought about it, and I might regret that choice. I don't know, but that was what we were thinking when we decided not to make them and offer them as either an add-on or part of the Fantasy Edition. Kevin, got to play some games with Kevin. I played Red Rising with Kevin and played Honga with Kevin. He was very kind to teach Honga. He says Geekway was our first board game convention, and it was amazing. He came with not his whole family, but part of his family, his wife and Everett and Sully, some kids. He said, "Thanks so much for playing Honga and Red Rising with us. That was the highlight of Geekway for us. Everyone I tell keeps asking if you're as nice in person as you seem in your videos, and I give them a resounding yes. Thank you for saying that, Kevin. I'm a human like anybody else. I can be nice in some situations and not nice in others, but I love my people at Geekway, and I hope I was kind to everyone at Geekway." He says, "The play and win and the library were great, and we found a bunch of new games that we've already bought. Our favorite was Between Two Cities." That's awesome to hear, because it was so much fun to work together to build the cities. One of the most social games we've played. And our 7-year-old loved it. That's great to hear. I love hearing that. And you're right, so Between Two Cities is one of the reasons I was hooked on it from the first time I played it, is that it is a competitive game where you have to work with other players. Like by default, the game says you are working with the player on your right to build a city and the player on your left to build a city, and you are trying to do really well at both of those cities. It's a game, I think, for classrooms where you're trying to encourage communication between students. He also said that Tikal and Terra Nova, I love Terra Nova, were other highlights for our 10-year-old. I can see Everett really enjoying Terra Nova, given some of the games that you said that he's already playing. He also said that Jen really loved Kingdom Builder. His favorites were Terra Nova and Scoville. I haven't played Scoville in a while. Terra Nova was one of my favorite kind of new additions, sequels of games from last year. Jazz is here. I haven't seen Jazz in a while. He says, "Feel like it's been forever." It has been too long, Jazz. Nice to finally get some time to stop in and listen. Jazz runs a channel called The Lobby of Hobbies, and I can't remember if I've actually seen much on there recently. Jazz, have you posted anything and I've missed it, or are you taking a break? What are you thinking? What have you been excited to create recently as a content creator? Carol says that Horrified kind of had mini games as well. Carol, you're absolutely right. Yeah, so many games I played at Geekway had mini games. Horrified definitely did, with each monster having its own little mini game. Jazz says that he also enjoys Honga. Honga was one of the nice surprises for me. Kevin brought Honga, he recommended it, and it has a really neat action selection mechanism that kind of feels like you're placing a worker, but the worker is a tile, and the way you orient that tile determines how much of typically up to 2 or 3 different actions you're going to take and how powerful those actions will be for you. Really neat game. That's Honga from Haba. Nancy Jane says the little boat tokens in Mill Fury are really nice too. George says we're about to start an epic 5-player game of Tapestry on BGA with Andrew Bosley, the artist, and the Discord game. That's really cool. Sorry about the small text on the Joko realm. I had to fit everything in somehow. Seems a little bit complex to emulate the game, but actually I can break it down for you fast and simple to get to. Don't let it intimidate you. Yeah, I'll try my best. I just want to make sure I can read it. That was the challenge there, George. I have pretty good eyes, but it's pretty small text when you print it out. But yeah, thank you for designing it. I look forward to giving it a try on Friday. I think was when that one's coming up. Nazir says, if we're going to shoot more than one video on a day, we always change t-shirts and have different drinks. Is that lying? I don't think it's lying, no. I used to do that too, but I used to like change the shirt for the video. But then I started recording in advance. And so videos that I filmed yesterday will be spread out over the next month or two. So, you know, if they're spread out like that, you can't exactly tell when I film them, unless you are trying to look for that sort of thing. Melissa said she loves my supervisor back there. This is Walter. Walter's still back there. You can see him right here. Here's Walter laying on his little mat. Chad says, what's your chocolate of the day? Yes. Oh, chocolate of the day. So Corey runs Blue Falcon Board Gaming, another channel here. And Corey went to the Dominican Republic recently and brought back some chocolate. I don't have it to show for you here, but he brought some Dominican Republican chocolate back for me and for Megan. And very kind to bring to Geekway and share it with me. And so we have some of that left over that we're looking forward to eating. That will be my chocolate of the day today. Molly says the two games that they bought at Geekway were Guild of Merchant Explorers and Honeybuzz, and also Moonrakers. All three great games. Really, really great games there. Oh, here's Corey. Corey's actually here. He says he also played Honga with Kevin. So Kevin, you played it multiple times. I didn't realize that. That's really cool. Oh no, Kevin was there with us. I'm sorry, Corey. You were there with us in that game. I was picturing Jen being next to us, but Jen was next to me for Red Rising, not for Honga. But yeah, Corey, I'm sorry. Corey was there for that game. I was going to play Nemalia with Corey and disc golf. Corey went out for disc golf with us, along with his friend Josh from Meeple House Gaming. And we had a lot of fun with that. I'm so glad we did that disc golf excursion, and I want to do that in future at Geekway to the West. Carol says, Ben and I really liked how Challengers gave you one-on-one time with every player. That's true. You got a little bit of quality time with each player at Challengers. For us, we got to personally meet everyone, and we thought that unique touch made it great for groups. If we tried an odd number, I'll let you know. And yet, I think that makes Challengers a particularly good convention game because it is kind of a large group, simultaneous, party-ish feeling game, even though there's deck building in it. That isn't typically a party mechanism. But Kira, I really like the way you said that at a convention, you get to spend a little bit of quality time with each player. So you get I think it's good for introverts that way. So you have this big kind of group experience, this shared experience, but you're having one-on-one time with people as you play. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I really like that. Joel is stopping in to say hi. Hey, Joel, I hope you're doing well. And actually, before I forget, because I know we're getting close to the end here, I'll keep going through comments, but Red Rising has its 2-year retail release anniversary coming up on May 28th. So if you want to get Red Rising off your shelf and play it in the near future and share it either on Instagram, you can tag me on Instagram at Jamie Stegmaier. Let's say this weekend, we'll do anniversary weekend this weekend. If you want to play Red Rising this weekend, tag me at Jamie Stegmaier about Red Rising anniversary. Post in the Red Rising Facebook group or on Board Game Geek. Show me your final hand. Show me what you create in your game of Red Rising, the crew that you create as you play. And it actually is timed pretty well with the upcoming release of Book 6 of Red Rising, which I'm really looking forward to. I actually had quite a few people mention to me at Geekway that they got into the Red Rising books thanks to the game, which I'm always elated to hear. I love hearing that. Kevin just popped in real quick to say hi. Hey, Kevin. And another Kevin here as well. Carol says that Honga is such a fun game. I got that for my son a couple years ago. The action dials are a fun puzzle. That's a good way to call them, action dials. They're little, here, I'll show them to you here. In Honga, where is Honga? Here's Challengers that we were just talking about. Honga, here you go. So in Honga, you have, at the end of your turn, you draw a cardboard dial that looks like this, cardboard tile/dial, has some hands on it. And where you place that dial on the board, as you can see here, let me orient that there, where you place it on the board, you place it at an intersection of 4 different actions, and wherever those hands are facing determine which actions you take and how many times you take them. Really clever mechanism there. And so you place a tile, and then at the end of your turn, you draw another tile, and that's the one that you get to place on the future turn. I thought it would be kind of odd to only have one tile to choose from, but you have so many choices from within that tile, like which intersection you're going to place it and how you will orient it. Enough decision points there. You don't need any more dials in your hand or tiles in your hand for that. Kevin says, now that we've played Terra Nova and like it, I'm torn if we should get Terra Mystica or Age of Innovation. That's the new, I think, slightly leveled up version of Terra Mystica that's coming soon. ever really wants a deeper experience with that one. Kevin, I love Terra Mystica. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I don't know what they're going to do with Age of Innovation. I'm guessing they're going to take things that they learned from Terra Nova, from Gaia Project, and from Terra Mystica and combine it into that game. So it will probably be a great game. But I think Terra Mystica is amazing. And so if you do want to level up from Terra Nova, I do recommend Terra Mystica. And you might even be able to get it for a discount right now because people are maybe selling it so they can get Age of Innovation. And you can also play it on Board Game Arena if you want to try it there to see if it's a good fit. Jerry says that designers of Terracotta Army posted a featured design diary last week. And again, give a positive shout out to you for your contribution to the game after crediting you in the rulebook. Have you had a chance to play it since its release? I haven't yet. I have it on my shelf. I am eager to play it. I played it as they kind of pitched it to me at one point to see if it was a good fit for Stonemaier Games. I thought it was a really solid game. I gave them some thoughts. Ultimately, I decided not to go for it, even though I think it is a very solid game. And I think they took maybe some of my feedback and some feedback from other people and made it into an even better game. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they did with that feedback. I can't even exactly remember what feedback I gave at this point. It was a long time ago. But it's very kind for people to give positive shout outs to that, like that, to people who had an impact on a game along the way. So very kind of them to do that. Chet says, is there a point size for text in rulebooks, boards, and cards that you like to stick to? 10 or 11 point. Well, so you're asking probably the wrong person because we are notoriously infamous for putting text that is a little bit too small and icons that are a little bit too small in our games. So 10 point is the minimum that we put on text that you actually need to read on cards that you have in hand or in front of you. 10 point is the minimum, ideally 11 point. For text that is somewhere across the table that you need to read, like that you need to be able to read it from across the table, not in front of you, I think 12 is ideal if you can make 12 work. I think 11 is a happy medium for both cases, but I think there is a difference between cards that are going to be in your hand, are going to be close to your face, versus cards that you need that are like in a card river across the table. And for those, even more ideally, the icons, having the icons be big and present, and potentially even have icons explain what you're getting, and then have text be the backup explanation for what you're getting is even better. Jazz says that content-wise, I took a break to do some remodeling of his house in preparation of a newborn in February. Now I'm just focusing on the changes at home with a new baby and a toddler, so time has been minimal to dedicate to content, but I've got plenty of gaming in. That's good. At least you're having time for some gaming along with time with the new family or the new baby. I have put up a preview recently, but have quite a bit coming up in the near future as I'm going on paternity leave soon. Now, that's exciting, paternity leave. I got to see Jazz and his wife at Design Day last fall when his wife was pregnant, and I'm glad you're having a good time with the new baby in the house, Jazz. It's good to hear. Pete is popping in for a lunch break. Hello. Got to see Pete a little bit at Geekway, and Pete taught and played the Bug Council of Backyardia, which I flashed a photo of earlier. Where is Bug Council? Here we go. I think this is the only trick-taking game that I played at Geekway. I had a blast playing this with Pete and a few others. That was a lot of fun. Pete says, any games you played at Geekway that you would add to your collection? That is a good question. Because I enjoyed every game that I played at Geekway. Spots is one that's already in my collection. I bought Spots and I brought it to learn and teach and play at Geekway. So that's one that is definitely in my collection. Currently, I don't know. So, I know that a friend is buying Challengers, and so that might be enough for me to have access to playing Challengers, but I really enjoyed it, and this is one that maybe the game that I've been thinking about the most because I want to do better the next time I play, and it does scale up so well from as few as 2 to 8 players. So Challengers might be in there. I really did enjoy Revive. I have a heavier game night on Tuesdays that I think that group would really enjoy Revive, so I might consider that one. I enjoyed Mosaic. I don't know. It's hard for me to limit it because I really did enjoy every single game I played. I would gladly play any of these games again. I don't know if I'm itching to play any of these games again immediately enough to have it in my collection and replay it over and over again. And so that's where I'm debating here. I enjoyed Horrified a lot too. I want to play with different combinations of monsters. I want to play Bug Council again. So I don't know yet, Pete. Other than Spots. Spots is the one that I kind of knew I would like, and so I bought it and played it at Geekway. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I find that I'm itching to replay any of these games. Like, for example, Guild of Merchant Explorers. One of my favorite games from last year. I knew that my coworker and friend Susanna owns it. So I was like, if I ever want to play it, I'll play it with Susanna. But then it went on sale a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this is a game that I wish I had the option of getting to the table more often. And so I bought it. So I don't always do that. Probably means I need to get rid of a game off my shelf to make room. But yeah, So sometimes it takes a little time for me to say, I love this game enough. I know that I want to replay it on a consistent basis, even though I have other access to it. And then I decide to buy it. What about you, Pete? I know you played some games at Geekway. Are there any that you played for the first time that you are definitely going to buy now after you played them? Frank West is here from the City of Games. He says, afternoon, good to catch up with you, or catch you for the first time in a while. I know you've been very busy, Frank. He says, I've been enjoying the monthly Expeditions updates. Hope all is well. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you dropping in, Frank. I always enjoy your blog posts and your content, and I'm getting really excited about the Race to the Raft. That's coming soon. Corey says he always watches these on YouTube, but this is his first time popping in the stream. That's awesome, Corey. Anything that you want to say or ask while you're here live for a few more minutes before I put this on YouTube? And Kevin says, how big is my collection? So I have one shelf that's just all Stonemaier stuff. It's in the living room back here. I have a smaller shelf. And so that's probably, I don't know, we have, 15 games and a bunch of expansions and accessories. So 15 games on that shelf. I have a shelf of smaller, lighter games that are also in my gaming room. That shelf probably has around 40 games in it. So that's 55 so far. I have a shelf of opportunity, which typically has around maybe 10 games on it. So that brings me up to what did I say? This is 65. And then over here, I have another shelf of games, bigger games, two-player games, cooperative games, probably around 60 games on that shelf. And so, what did I say? So that's 125, around 125 games. I think that's about right. Yeah. I try as hard as possible to not put things on top of my game shelves. And so if things are on top, that's a sign to me that I have a little too much and need to get rid of some games and need to give some away. So I need to give away some games soon to make room for other games and not use the top of that top area. Corey says, well, I'll be going to Origins this year. I will not. I've heard great things about Origins. I don't go to many conventions, though. I typically, if I'm going to go to a convention, it's going to be the type of convention where I just go and play games freely and randomly and flexibly, like Geekway to the West. But we do have a person in charge of conventions at Stonemaier, Dave. Dave did a wonderful job running the booth at Geekway to the West. He'll be at Gen Con, partnering with MeepleSource for our booth. But I don't think we have any presence at Origins this year. Yeah. Christian says, have I played Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon? I played one game of it. I didn't play the campaign, but I did play one game of it. I have a video about it on my YouTube channel. Yeah. Chet says, any thoughts on games that have... Oh, I have a few comments before that. Let's see. Kevin asked that. Board at Home says, I really enjoyed Planet Unknown and Wild Serengeti at Geekway. Hope to pick up both of those eventually. Planet Unknown, I love Planet Unknown. And I haven't played Wild Serengeti, but I heard a few people mention good things about that. Chat says, any thoughts on games that have different rules for different player counts? Example, a game with higher player count has 2 available tokens to pick up on a board rather than 1 available token at lower player counts. We have a few games that have very little things like this, like Red Rising. So my preferred way to do this is that anything that is different for player counts, you do during setup. So you put something on the board during setup or put some tokens on the board that you never have to think about again because it's just integrated into the board interface. It isn't something that you have to remember from then on. So in Libertalia, we have a special mat that you put on the board for 2-player play. And then you don't think about it anymore because it's just there on the board for the rest of the game. In Red Rising, for influence scoring on the Institute, I think we have players put 3 tokens on there at the beginning of the game representing a third-party player. Charterstone, we have something similar. So that is my preferred way to do it. There isn't something ongoing that you need to remember unless it is something that you can put on the board during setup that is a visual reminder to players that they need to think about or pay attention to it. Carol says that Guild of Merchant Explorers was probably her favorite too at Geekway. And of course, Susanna taught it. Susanna taught me as well. She said Susanna also taught my sons and herself Savor Nake Lake, which was one of Susanna's favorites. She said her kids loved it and they won a copy. That's awesome. Fun little drafting game. These are definitely the Geekway highlights. I need to try Savor Nake Lake. That looks really, really adorable. All right, Carol's heading back to work. Steve says, are you going to Strong Tower? It's in the fall near the Milwaukee area. In fact, Steve, I don't think I've heard of Strong Tower before. I see a lot of conventions because I'm the one at our company that creates orders for play and win games when companies say, hey, can you give us some games for our play and win sections? But I don't recall seeing Strong Tower on there. Do they have a play and win section there? If anyone was at Geekway, they can see just how good play and win is for conventions, for attendees, and for publishers. It is a very powerful way to reach people at conventions. Josh is here. Josh is one of the people that I got to play games with at Geekway, including disc golf. Josh, it was great to spend time with you there. Thank you for coming to Geekway, making the trip out here. He says he loved Flamecraft and Etowah, the bat game. I love Etowah too, and Flamecraft. Corey says he really liked Etowah, and Villagers was a pleasant surprise, new to me game at Geekway, and ended up buying it with his buddy at Miniature Market. All right, I think we are at the end today. I need to take off and do a pre-production playtest of a new product that we just received. That we received the pre-production copy, so we're gonna put it on the table and see how it goes. See if everything comes together well. If the graphic design is just what it needs to be. If everything is as intuitive as it should be based on the final components. So we're gonna do that as a team. I hope you have a great day. I believe Steve says that he believes that Stronghorn does have a play and win last year. So I hope they do this year too, and then we can hear from them. Yeah, have a great Wednesday, a great week. Have a great anniversary weekend for Red Rising, and I will see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye.